Born and raised in Malark Skyborn was the middle son of a moderately prosperous merchant house. Although primarily a trader of weapons, Malark's father did some business on the side, smuggling Faerunian drugs from Kalimshan into the north, and through these contacts young Malark was exposed to some of the more disreputable characters of Vran. One of these was Collis, a not-too-bright cleric of Cyric from the Dragon Coast. Collis indoctrinated Malark into the Church of Cyric, and although Collis was killed in one of Cyric's many purges in the past decade, he fixed the teachings of Cyric before his madness in the mind of young Malark, particularly the need for secrecy and glibness. Malark travelled alone in the guise of a peddler and blacksmith, using his skills to create tools and weapons and sell them to people he met in various small towns. He used these travels to study people in detail. He murdered lawful and good individuals in these towns in the guise of another one of the townsfolk. Later he spent time as a mercenary, concealing his spellcasting abilities and pretending to be a mere swordsman. Presenting a friendly and jovial air, he has many allies and acquaintances across Vran. Sheltered from the infighting of the main body of Cyricists, Malark never realized that bonds of family and friends were things to be avoided or exploited, so he can be genuinely affectionate toward these people, and he becomes angered when they are harmed. Because Malark Skyborn traveled alone, or at least without other Cyricists, for most of his early career, he escaped the many purges that Cyric inflicted upon his own worshippers, and so he is one of the more powerful Cyricist clerics not associated with any particular temple. Cyric prefers him to remain unassociated with any temple, and some Cyricist clerics resent this odd form of favoritism, which only cements his desire to avoid others of his faith. Malark remains a lone wolf, other than the occasional hirelings, wandering about the world, killing enemies of Cyric, spreading lies, and avenging attacks on his friends and allies. He is particularly interested in the fate of his younger brother Marik, a mercenary who is unaware of Malark's religious inclinations. If something were to happen to Marik, Malark would find the ones responsible and hunt them down, after arranging to have Marik raised from the dead, of course.
The Bone Harnoga known as Tepenzi was the founder and the first ruler of Najala, the Kingdom of Snakes. After its death in battle against the Shadow King during the waning days of Spartism, its remains were converted into a Bone Noga, and it guarded the abandoned city of Fountains for millennia. During its long life, it gained considerable power as a Noga overlord. Today, Tepenzi is the sinister guardian of Najala, enslaved to the will of each successive Dark Noga king by the Mole Spire of Najala. The Bone Harnoga is utterly loyal to both the realm it founded and the monarch who wears Najala's crown, though it constantly presses against the magical strictures that enforce its loyalty to the leader of the Nagara. To that end, Tepenzi engages in decades-long plots to undermine the rule of the Nagara without betraying the reigning king. Most of these plots involve inducing adventurous scaleless ones to wage daring assaults on the ruling Nagara and destroy the Mole Spire of Najala, an item that they've been led to believe threatens the safety of Western Vran.
Tepenzi casts Bear's Endurance, Bull's Strength, Cat's Grace, Eagle's Splendor, Fox's Cunning, and Owl's Wisdom. Tepenzi's gaze functions like the Mass Charm spell against creatures within 90 feet. Tepenzi deals damage with a successful grapple attack against a huge or smaller opponent, and can attempt to enslave any one living creature within 30 feet. An enslaved creature obeys Tepenzi's telepathic commands until freed, and can attempt to break free every 24 hours. The control is also broken if Tepenzi dies, or travels more than 1 mile from its slave. Tepenzi can cast spells as a sorcerer and cleric. Cleric spells and domain spells are considered arcane spells for him. 3 times per day, Tepenzi can leech the life force of any one enslaved follower within 1 mile, and need not actually touch the target. Tepenzi blends in with its surroundings, gaining a bonus on hiding. Tepenzi can fly at 120 feet with perfect maneuverability. This ability grants him a bonus on moving silently when flying. Tepenzi can communicate telepathically with any creature within 250 feet that has a language. Tepenzi is immune to mind-influencing effects, poison, sleep effects, paralysis, stunning, disease, death effects, unless it also works on objects or is harmless. It is not subject to critical hits, non-lethal damage, ability damage to its physical ability, ability drain, energy drain, fatigue, exhaustion, or death from massive damage. It cannot be raised, and resurrection works only if it is willing.
Fiery eyes gleam from secret places in the Grove of Renewal, watching. The Nature Seers, as they call themselves, scrutinize those who come to their grove. They number 4 and each embraces an element of fire, water, earth, air. Ancient beyond imagining, these half-elemental druids have always been here. Prophecy predicts that someday, the mother shall tire of her children's profanities and shall spew forth her fire upon the land to cleanse and renew it. On that day, the Nature Seers shall enact their final purging. The Nature Seers have visages permanently marked by the element with which they're joined. They speak little, if at all, and have mannerisms and personalities that reflect their element. The one called Phlogiston is the leader and guides the others in their rituals. Being of such an ancient age makes these druids seem alien. They don't understand civilization or culture and have no need for either. They don't know history or politics. They know only the ebb and flow of the world's energies, and they serve their purposes. With a single crush of phlogiston, creatures in the area suffer damage or are pinned. A tail sweep from phlogiston also deals damage to all creatures up to medium size, within a half circle with a diameter of 40 feet. Phlogiston can breathe a 70-foot cone of fire once every round of battle for damage too. Creatures within 360 feet, when attacked or charged with phlogiston's frightful presence, become panicked or shaken during battle. Phlogiston has immunities to sleep, paralysis, fire, disease, organic poisons, has fortitude against poison, and can see 4 times as well as a human in low light conditions, and twice as well in normal light. He has dark vision with a range of 1,200 feet too.
Thri-kreen are a mantis-like race of hunters that travel in packs across the grasslands of the Shar. They are reclusive and alien to most other creatures that share the plains with them. Their physical nature and aggressive hunting tactics make them superior in the region, but Thri-kreen do not usually attack other sentient creatures without provocation. Thri-kreen have no solid personalities as humans would define them. Unpredictable in everything they do, Thri-kreen do not show evidence of much emotion in their behavioral patterns. Their faces are incapable of exhibiting most feelings, but agitation does show in the rapid motion of antennae and mandibles. The focus of the Thri-kreen is always on survival. And they respect only prowess and strength. A Thri-kreen looks like a bipedal praying mantis, between 4.5 to 7 feet tall, weighing 100 to 175 pounds. Of the 6 limbs protruding from a Thri-kreen's midsection, 2 are used for walking, and each of the other 4 ends in a 4-fingered hand. A sand-colored exoskeleton covers an adult Thri-kreen's body. 2 compound eyes, 2 antennae, and a complicated jaw structure, which includes a pair of wicked mandibles, give the head an insect-like appearance. The typical Thri-kreen wears a harness, belt, and slings for holding its equipment, but no other clothing or armor.
Thri-kreen neither seek nor shun contact with other races. They simply exist with other species and share territory so long as others do not begin to overhunt an area or waste precious resources. If a Thri-kreen pack perceives interlopers as a danger, they attack relentlessly, heedless of their own safety, until the threat is either driven off or slain. Lacking any sense of honor or loyalty, Thri-kreen are a hard species with which to negotiate. Thri-kreen lack devotion beyond the convenience of joining with exceptional hunting companions, and are spontaneous in most of their actions. Adding to this chaotic behavior, they have no traditions of their own and see little value in those of others. Further, while Thri-kreen are not needlessly cruel or evil, they do not go out of their way to help others. Simple existence and survival rule the Thri-kreen way of life. The strong live and the weak die. Thri-kreen have no established religious practices. However, some of them have become attuned to the hunting and resource aspects of nature deities, such as Sylvanus or Malor, and develop druidic spellcasting abilities. Others, perhaps influenced by Shirean neighbors, see the power in following Tempest or Akkadi and become clerics of one of these deities. Thri-Kreen speak their own language, Thri-Kreen, which is composed of clicks and snaps of their mandibles. Most Thri-Kreen learn to speak a smattering of Common if their packs roam near humanoid civilizations. Thri-Kreen make no distinction between male and female names, and they have no surnames. Thri-Kreen sometimes break with the pack and explore lands beyond their hunting grounds. Typically, this activity is at the behest of leaders, who feel information is important for the survival of the pack. Lone Thri-Kreen often become caravan guards or join with those that roam the lands, seeking only to better survive, but learning the ways of other folk in the process. Some Thri-Kreen names are Chidal, Drikshkit, Gulnik, Kiktul, Klaktuk, Krik, Pak, Tekwi, Taltich, Tilnak, Tik-Tik, and their religion is the Shar.
Scourge Maidens are warrior priestesses of Loviater dedicated to pain and anguish. They have perfected the art of torture, both physical and mental, and they find their own spiritual satisfaction by tormenting anyone they can. The scourge, Loviater's favored weapon, is an implement of war and persecution for all Scourge Maidens. Clerics and cleric fighters, who are initiated into the inner circle of Loviater's followers, are eligible to become Scourge Maidens. Few others have the demeanor and talents to serve in such a fashion. Scourge Maidens are the frontline combatants within temples dedicated to Loviater. They are responsible for fetching prisoners, defending high-ranking priestesses, and inflicting painful punishment on offenders. Though Scourge Maidens typically work in groups with one another, they can and do undertake solitary quests. These servants of Loviater can be found in the company of adventurers, so long as those adventurers are not squeamish and have the moral latitude to accept a sadist in their midst. Their patron deity is Loviater. The Scourge Maiden's skills and key abilities are bluff, concentration, crafting, healing, and intimidation. They also have knowledge in religion, spellcraft, and they can use a rope. A Scourge Maiden receives Scourge as a feat, and can fill her enemies with fear and doubt. Scourge Maidens can evoke great sadness 3 times per day, and use crushing despair. Scourge Maidens can stun an opponent with a blow from her Scourge. An opponent is stunned until just before the Scourged Maiden's next action, and can't act, loses any dexterity to armor class. A Scourge Maiden can attempt a stunning attack each day, and no more than once per attack. Constructs, oozes, plants, undead, incorporeal creatures, and creatures immune to critical hits cannot be stunned. The Scourge Maiden can cause great pain with her Scourge attacks. She can use her stunning strike each day to subject the target of her Scourge to such debilitating pain that he is nauseated for 2 rounds of attack. Creatures immune to stunning attacks are also immune to this ability.
Dambrith is a matriarchal society ruled by a queen who also serves as the high priestess of the Temple of Loviater. The queen selects Crinty nobles to fill the other posts within the national government, including but not limited to the Hongler, judges, the commanders of the military, and the senior priestesses of Loviater's temples in other cities. The current queen of Dambrith is Hasifa Hasamkrai, who, in defiance of custom, was a powerful wizard rather than a high cleric of Loviater when she took the throne. Her selection came as a surprise to her subjects, who fully expected her mother Yanandra, the so-called pirate queen, to name one of Hasifa's sisters as successor, since both were clerics who shared their mother's taste for sailing and pillage. But Yanandra was visibly failing from both old age and a wasting disease that baffled Dambrith's clerics. In exchange for the throne, Hasifa offered her mother a spell that would allow her to choose the manner and time of her own death, bind her to the land she had ruled for so long, and weave her name into undying legend. With the help of a circle of drow sorcerers and the blessing of Loviater, Hasifa transformed Yanandra and her favorite horse into a spectral guardian and a nightmare, respectively. Now, during the dark of the moon, the people of Dambrath often report seeing a beautiful Quinty rider and her horse, their eyes glowing with red light, moving soundlessly across the countryside.
Now called the Nightmare Queen, Yanandra is both loved and feared, as she was during life, and the red lights of her eyes have become a common sight in Dambrath. Upon taking the throne, Hazifer was forced to accept the role of High Priestess of Loviator as well as the crown. Thus, she began clerical training and has proven an apt enough student, though she has to rely heavily on advisors within Loviator's church to perform the more important ceremonies, until she is proficient enough to do them herself. Thus, her clerical advisors wield considerably more political power than Loviator's secondary priestesses normally would. Crinty duchesses and baronesses hold traditional and hereditary seats of power in Dambrath's various cities, ruling the urban centers and the lands around them with the support of the Hunglath and the local temple of Loviator. Though the Hunglath hold trials and pass judgment on criminals, the duchesses and the temple are responsible for enforcing those rulings and meting out the punishments. In Dambrath, governmental processes are tightly intertwined with the tenets of the Maiden of Pain's faith. Each complements and supports the other across many facets of daily life. The three components of the political structure, the nobility, the Hunglath, and the temples, function as a set of checks and balances for one another. Because the queen derives her power from the support of these groups, she takes care to ensure that she has the full backing of at least two of them on any given issue.